Welcome back to video number 2 in this free beauty business training series. Hi everyone, I'm Jen Schroeder and I'm from the Online Wellness School and creator of the Beauty Business Formula Masterclass. In the last video, we talked a lot about mindset and the importance of getting yourself onto a growth mindset when it comes to establishing and running your beauty business. I can't stress enough how important it is to start out with the foundational mindset that you need in order to be successful. In the Beauty Business Formula Masterclass, we spend a lot of time on figuring out how to get into that mindset and how to set it up exactly for you so that you're successful. But in this video, what I want to do is move on to really creating to move on to talking about your customers. So once you've established a really great mindset, the next step is really about your customers and setting yourself up for success by really taking the time to define who your customers are and really dive into what I like to call your quintessential customer. So determining who your quintessential customer is. If you'll remember in the previous video, I gave you a story about myself and a failure that I had when I launched my first product. And it was because of mindset. I certainly had not developed the right mindset for what was ahead of me as an entrepreneur. But another thing that I didn't do is I really didn't get to know my customer. I spent all my time in my lab developing this great product that worked perfectly. It worked fantastically for me. But I didn't ask anybody else. Well, I did. I asked my sister and I asked a few other people about the product. But other than that, the world didn't know anything about that product. And I certainly didn't spend any time talking to my customers and getting to know who they were. So when I went to that expo, I had no idea who my customer was. And when I go back now, and when I went back to figure that out after my big, major aha moment that said, okay, this is going to have to change and you're going to have to develop a formula that works for you so you can be successful. When I had that moment, I figured out that that expo didn't have any of my customers. Nobody at that expo, aside from probably the 10 people that bought my product, I was just lucky that they were there. I wasn't targeting the right people. In fact, I didn't have any idea who the right people were. The only thing I knew at that time was that I had developed a great product for me. And my puppy love allowed me to believe that everybody also wanted that product. Well, that was probably not my finest hour. You know why it wasn't my finest hour? Because I had not built my foundation. I had not taken the time to build the foundational steps that I needed and built that great foundation that my company needed in order to succeed and take off, right? I didn't know anything about my customer. So one of the foundational steps that we're going to be talking about today is really getting into the mind of your customer and the importance of who they are. Because let's face it, today's world, we are bombarded with products, ads, deals, opportunities all day long. What is it that's going to make your product stand out? What is it about your product that appeals to a certain group of people? And if you don't know what that is, if you can't just rattle that off right now, that's a problem. So you, as an entrepreneur, need to find a way to make sure that your product is the one that is reaching your actual customer. And you cannot reach your actual customer if you have not defined who they are first. So it is essential that you get in touch with what I like to call your quintessential customer, which in return is really your avatar, your customer that is your ideal customer that you can rattle off anytime anybody asks you about your product. So what I mean by defining your quintessential customer is you need to know how to reach them, what they think, who they are, what's important to them. I had no idea who this customer was when I went to that expo. It's one of the reasons that I failed miserably at that expo. Because I was relying on what I like to call hope marketing, which is I hoped that everyone would like my product and love my product the way I love my product. it was a great product for me, and I hoped that everyone else would see that as well. Well, that didn't work. And hope marketing is a bad avenue to go down, because you're putting all of your plans in a little idea called hope. And you're hopeful that it's going to work out, but you're not really sure. I don't know about you, but when I think about all the money that I spend in order to really put a great product out there, to get it formulated correctly, to define my brand, to figure out exactly what it is that I'm targeting and trying to get to, the last thing in the world I need to do when I put that much effort into thinking about and developing my product is to rely on hope marketing. You need to know who your quintessential customer is. Beauty Business Formula Masterclass. We spend a lot of time talking about our customers and getting them in the mind of our customers. But in this training session today, what I want to focus on are what I like to call the 5 characteristics of your customer identification plan. Out of the gate, characterize your product from your customer's perspective. Don't make the mistake that I did by making you be your primary customer. So what do I really mean by defining your product from your customer's perspective? Well, what does your product do to improve your customer's daily life? What does it offer that's going to improve your customer's daily life? What kind of problems is your product going to solve for your customer? What specific problems is your product going to fix for that customer? So if I had taken my example of my chronic yeast infection product that I created and took to the expo, if I had taken the time to really think about who my customers were, I wouldn't have gone to that expo, because I was looking for people in a completely different market, people that were suffering from the same things I was, which was a chronic yeast infection. That probably wasn't going to be found at a scuba diving convention. Even though there's some marrying of the two, that's not my ideal customer. My ideal customer is not your average scuba diver. My ideal customer is somebody suffering from the chronic condition that I had. So if I had taken the time to really characterize my product from my customer's perspective rather than mine, I would have been so much further down the road. And I would have never gone to that particular expo. Number 2, when you're really defining who your customer starts with diving in on who they are. How old are they? What's their level of education? What's their typical income? What do they like to watch on TV? Where do they shop? Do they shop online? Do they shop Are they strict, natural, organic skincare people? Are they going to have very strict guidelines for what they shop for and where they shop? Or are they people that shop on the way home and pick up their products on their way home or on the weekends with their kids? What type of person are they? I want you to build an avatar for your customer that's going to give the complete picture. It's essential for your success to really take the time to dive in and figure this out. Again, if I had done this from the beginning, I would have been so much further down the road. Because I would have known that my customer for that particular product shops online. And my customer probably will shop at a natural grocers, because they're looking for natural solutions to a problem that medicine can't fix. So if I had taken the time to figure that out, I would have been further. Another thing to think about is, what is it about your product and your product and your brand that makes your customer want to buy from you? Why should they buy from you instead of someone else? Is it because your brand's organic? Is it because they identify with you? Is it because they understand your baseline story and what you're trying to bring to the market? What is it that makes your customer want to shop from you and not? What deep need does buying your product solve for that customer? These are essential questions to answer in order to find that customer of yours. Another thing you want to think about is, what is the absolute tippy top, the very top, what you would consider to be the top reason why someone would want to buy your product over another one. That could be because your product is organic. That be because your product has been tested on so many people. That could be because your product and your brand story identifies with your customer. There's a myriad of reasons as to why that customer shops from you, but you want to identify that out of the gate. Is to really dive into your customer's buying strategy and figuring that out. So characterizing that. Figuring out, well, how do they buy your product, and have they purchased similar products in the past? If they purchased similar products in the past, what is it that they liked, what they didn't like? Being in constant communication with your customer and your customer base is going to be key to your success. And this is not an exercise that you do once and forget it. This is an exercise that you're going to repeat and revisit all the time if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. Because determining who your ideal customer is essential to success, number one. But number two, it's a changing thing. As you develop more products and as you develop your brand and your brand story, which we'll be talking about more in the Beauty Business Formula Masterclass, you're going to really define and hone in on that customer base. And you're going to know when you create new products where, if those existing customers are ones that are going to buy it, or if you're opening up a new customer base by launching a new line. You're going to get so good and so in touch with your customers that you're going to be able to figure that out relatively quickly, because that is really key to your success. So many beauty business entrepreneurs are creative people, and that's a fabulous thing. I'm a creative person too, and it can be hard to get in touch with these foundational steps that you need to take, like defining who your customer is, but it is really important to your success. Because the absolute last thing that you want as a beauty business is to waste your time selling a product to a group of people that just don't want it. That will lead down a road of failure that you do not have to do if you just take the time to figure out who your customer is out of the gate before you even get started. At the end of this video, in this email, you'll notice that there is an attachment to a worksheet that will help you get to know your customer, and that goes over the 5 characteristics that we talked about in this session and how to define and get in touch with those customers. So make sure that you download that worksheet and you start work on defining who your customer is before the next training video. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. It's been a blast for me. This whole series has been a blast for me because I'm really focused on creating successful beauty business entrepreneurs. So thank you very much for joining me for this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.